Imagine a captain in the middle of a storm. The wind is howling. The waves are crashing against his ship. Yet he remains calm, focused. He knows he can't control the ocean, but he can control how he navigates through it. Similarly, in life, we cannot always control what happens to us, but what we can control is how we respond, how we manage our emotions. This is exactly what Stoicism teaches us, mastering our emotions to regain control of our lives. Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Epictetus viewed emotions as natural reactions to external events, but they taught that we shouldn't be ruled by them. For the Stoics, the key to happiness lay in distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. Let's take a simple example. You're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. Anxiety and frustration start building up. What do? This is where Stoic thinking comes into play. The traffic. This is something you can't control. It's an external factor. However, your reaction to being late is entirely up to you. You have a choice. You can give in to anger, allowing that emotion to take over, or you can calmly accept the situation and adapt. By controlling your emotional response, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. But how do we actually do this? One Stoic technique is to ask a simple question. Does this depend on me? If the answer is no, then why let it bother you? If it's something beyond your control, wasting your energy on it is pointless. This question helps you step back and prevent yourself from being swept away by destructive emotions. Here's another example. Someone insults or criticizes you. Your initial reaction might be anger or sadness, but ask yourself, is that person's opinion something I can control? The answer is no. You cannot control what others think or say about you. What you can control is how you interpret that criticism. If you choose not to take it personally, you maintain your peace of mind. Seneca famously said, "Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain." In today's world, we often become victims of our emotions. Social media, work pressures, societal expectations. All of these can create an emotional whirlwind. But, like that captain in the storm, we always have the power to choose how we react. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, but about mastering them. It's about learning to observe and question them. Why am I angry? Why am I sad? Often these emotions are tied to unmet. Now, how do we apply these Stoic principles in everyday life? How do we turn this philosophy into a practical tool for well-being? First, it's important to understand that mastering your emotions doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily practice, a constant effort, just like going to the gym to strengthen your muscles. Here we are training our mind. Stoicism offers several concrete practices to build emotional resilience. One powerful technique is negative visualization. At first glance, this might sound strange, but the Stoics advise taking a moment each day to imagine the worst-case scenario. Why? To mentally prepare ourselves for hardships, and to reduce the shock if they actually happen. By anticipating potential loss, whether it's an object, a relationship, or even your health, you make peace with the uncertainty of life. When you accept that nothing is guaranteed, you become more resilient and less vulnerable to emotional shock. For instance, think about your job. You might fear losing it, which could lead to anxiety or stress. Negative visualization would have you calmly imagine what would happen if you lost that job. How would you cope? What would be your next steps? By mentally preparing for the worst, you turn fear into preparation. You stop being a victim of anxiety over the unknown and instead take control of how you would handle the situation. Another key Stoic practice is the dichotomy of control, which we touched on earlier. It's the idea of dividing every situation into two categories: what is within your control and what is outside of your control. This seemingly simple practice is incredibly powerful. Take a piece of paper, draw 2 columns, and write down what in a difficult situation you can influence and what you cannot. Focusing only on what you can control saves you valuable energy and reduces unnecessary stress. Consider a romantic relationship. You can't control your partner's emotions or actions, but you can control how you react to them. You can choose to communicate calmly, be patient, or set healthy boundaries. The rest, how they respond or behave, is out of your hands. This approach lightens the burden of excessive expectations and frustration. Finally, Stoicism emphasizes the importance of gratitude. Stoics encourage us to appreciate what we have, right here and now, instead of constantly longing for what we don't have. One of the greatest traps of the human mind is believing that happiness lies in acquiring something we don't yet possess. But true peace comes from recognizing the value of the present moment. By taking time to appreciate small things, a moment of sunshine, a meaningful conversation, a good meal, you build emotional strength and guard yourself against chronic dissatisfaction. This might sound simple, but practicing gratitude can profoundly shift your mindset. Every day, Take a few minutes to think about 3 things you are grateful for. These moments of appreciation recalibrate your mind to focus on what is abundant in your life rather than what is missing. In this way, Stoicism becomes more than just a philosophy. It's a practical guide for regaining self-control in a chaotic world. By cultivating patience, accepting what is beyond our control, and finding joy in small, everyday moments, we develop deep emotional resilience. To sum it up, true strength doesn't come from controlling everything around us, but from mastering ourselves in the face of whatever life throws our way. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Every day is an opportunity to practice this philosophy, step by step, taking back control of your life by mastering your emotions. So, when the storm rages, don't try to change the wind. Instead, learn to adjust your sails. Another crucial aspect of Stoicism, which we haven't touched on yet, is the idea of accepting impermanence. The Stoics believe that everything in life is transient, from our possessions to our relationships, even our own existence. By embracing this reality, we can free ourselves from the emotional turmoil caused by clinging to things that are destined to change or fade away. In today's society, we often fall into the trap of attaching our happiness to things that are temporary, whether it's material success, status, or even the people we love. But Stoicism reminds us that nothing lasts forever, and trying to hold on to these things creates suffering. The Stoic approach is to engage with life fully, but without becoming overly attached. Think about how often we experience distress simply because we expect things to remain the same. We assume relationships will always be stable, that our careers will always progress smoothly, or that our health will never fail. When reality doesn't align with these expectations, we feel disappointment, frustration, or sadness. Take the example of a close friendship. You may grow incredibly attached to this person, and it's natural to want that bond to last forever. But people change, circumstances shift, and sometimes friendships drift apart. If you anchor your happiness entirely on the permanence of that relationship, losing it will create immense suffering. The Stoic approach would be to enjoy the friendship deeply while it lasts, but to accept that, like everything in life, it may one day end. This doesn't mean you care any less. It simply means you're prepared for change. This idea is reflected in the Stoic practice of memento mori, which translates to, remember you will die. At first glance, this seems morbid, but it's actually a call to live more fully. By reflecting on our mortality, we remind ourselves that our time here is limited. Instead of wasting it on trivial worries or holding on to things that are fleeting, we focus on what truly matters. This practice encourages us to be present, to appreciate the people in our lives, and to pursue our goals without the fear of failure. Knowing that time is finite sharpens our focus on what is truly valuable. Consider how this perspective might affect your daily life. Instead of stressing over whether you've achieved enough by a certain age or comparing yourself to others, you focus on what's within your control, making the most of each moment. You take time to connect with loved ones, engage fully in your work, and pursue your passions without obsessing over external validation. By accepting the impermanence of life, you actually open yourself up to experiencing it more fully, without the burden of unrealistic expectations. One more vital Stoic concept is virtue. For the Stoics, the ultimate goal wasn't wealth, power, or pleasure. It was to live a life of virtue. Virtue, in this context, means acting in alignment with reason, wisdom, and moral integrity. It's about doing what is right, not because it will bring external rewards, but because it is inherently good. This is where Stoicism differs from many modern self-help philosophies that focus on achieving success or personal gain. Stoicism teaches that the highest good is living a life that is true to your values, regardless of the outcome. Let's break that down into a practical example. Say you have the opportunity to advance in your career by doing something that conflicts with your moral principles. You might gain status or wealth by making that compromise, but you'd be sacrificing your integrity. For a Stoic, this would be a failure, because living in accordance with virtue is more important than external success. Even if it means passing up the promotion or financial gain, the Stoic would choose to stay true to their values. In modern life, this might mean speaking up for what you believe is right, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. It might mean prioritizing kindness and honesty, even when it's not easy or profitable. Living with virtue doesn't guarantee a smooth or easy life, but it does provide a deep sense of peace and fulfillment that external rewards can't offer. To sum up this third dimension of Stoicism, by embracing impermanence and striving to live virtuously, we free ourselves from the emotional chaos that comes from clinging to what is temporary or compromising our values. Stoicism reminds us that while we cannot control the external world, we can always choose how we act and what kind of person we want to be. And in the end, That's where real power lies, not in controlling life's outcomes, but in controlling the way we live.